Okay, welcome everyone to the Town of Walpole Select Board meeting on Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Being that the time is after 7 p.m., we'll call the meeting to order. If everyone please rise, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so our first item of business, excuse me, under appointments is a vote to ratify the appointment of Steve Mao as a tree warden. Jim?
Yes. Hey, Steve. So Steve's been with us for a very long time. He's risen up the ranks in the Parks Department, up to foreman at this time. He is well-versed in the operations here in town. I know he has full support of the Director Mattson, Superintendent Drew Hand, and Superintendent Jim Thomas. He's a great all-around employee for us, and I'm happy to recommend him for this position.
Thanks. Steve, you want to kind of come on up to the mic for us? Thank you. Maybe just introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself, and then we'll see if the board has any questions for you.
Okay, I'm Steve Maio. I've been with the town almost 9 years now. Previous to that, I worked for Sports Turf Specialties over in Rentham, doing athletic field construction and maintenance. And I was excited to come to the town to bring that knowledge over. And over the last 9 years, I've kind of expanded my knowledge to include trees and forestry into that as well, and completed a 7-course qualified tree warden program.
Great. Wonderful. All right, well, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Congratulations and thank you. Yeah.
I would hear a motion, Glenn.
Yeah, motion to ratify the appointment of Steve Mao as tree warden.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0, the motion passes. Thank you, Steve. Congratulations. All right. It's a great way to start the meeting. I like that. Okay. Then we have next up Patrick Deschaines, discussion on spring 2026 town meeting zoning articles. Patrick, good to see you again.
Good to see you, everybody. So this time around, we're looking at 2 zoning articles, mostly, well, all really dealing with Section 5, which is our use regulations. Broke it up the best we could to have one article really encompassing, which is Sections 5A and 5B, dealing with the use table itself, and then the other one as more use-specific regulations, stuff dealing with temporary uses, earth removal, of the like. So generally, similar thought process behind all this has always been to try to remove kind of either outdated language or try to better find a way to summarize, have it improve readability, remove kind of either inconsistency or duplicative, statements. So majority of the changes really are trying to just better summarize and better organize. You'll notice like our footnotes have expanded, and a lot of that is some stuff could be, was maybe been over-explained, it was over-defined within the use table and it worked better as a footnote, or something worked better as its own certain use regulation, which is that section that's after the footnotes. And so it's definitely kind of a laborious process. Jim Crowley is with me with the Zoning Review Steering Committee, Ed Forsberg, Sarah Khatib, and John O'Leary and John Griffin from the Planning Board. It's this probably more so than any other time I've been before you in terms of just really trying to look into details. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions. So.
Great. No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you also mentioning the Zoning Bylaw Review Steering Committee, and I know there's some folks from the Planning Board involved with that, and of course, everyone with the town as well. So we appreciate the work that y'all are doing, and very detailed and complex stuff, especially once we start getting into these, into the use tables. Any questions specifically or comments from the board on this for Patrick?
I would just ask, is there anything you think will be discussed at town meeting? Is there anything in here that people would be worried about?
So Certainly, I think more so than probably the other sections, just to be honest with you, because it is something that I think is more recognizable for people, whereas when we're talking about, non-conforming uses, that's all real legal jargon that's kind of dictated by state regulation. A lot of this stuff is that may be controversial. Like, I know we have our existing bylaw that allows for mixed-use development in the downtown. I think it's from 1986 was when that was first implemented, and I'm picking a date out, but I think it was probably like mid to late 80s, and it hasn't changed. And so that was, offhand, we do hear comments about that. I think some of the previous developments that have occurred, such as, over at 130 West, I mean, there was definitely some citizen comments about, hey, this section of zoning seems kind of open-ended. And so that's something that we wanted to spend time with, trying to find a reasonable solution. So, not to go into over the top details, but we think of like the MBTA overlay district is another option that we had to implement that kind of covers a similar area. And so that mixed use language, we really tried to expand on the regulation of the density. So that was one of those open-ended questions where before it was the amount of residential units was based upon your commercial space, and trying to and just really removing that connection to it, and more or less making that density based upon the acreage of the parcel that it's on, which is a easier way of kind of seeing what a build out potential would be, rather than having the commercial space dictate the size of the residential. So that one, I think, it involves housing, and it involves a piece of zoning that I know has been talked about at least frequently in the past couple of years, or at least brought to my attention. So I would imagine there might be comments for that. I'm comfortable with what we've put forward, but there's always certainly critiques for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Ally?
I mean, going off of Mark's question, is just my concern is areas that the changes could have a negative impact on someone who currently has, say, temporary. I kind of quickly looked more at the daycare, residential daycare for family childcare, because that's my background, to see if that change would have any impact to a family childcare license, and it didn't seem to be.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So there are, one of the kind of main changes, especially for the table of use, was removing use categories which are more accessory than a principal. So daycare, for example, obviously if you have a standalone, brick and mortar separate daycare business, that's covered under as a principal use, whereas a small or large family at-home daycare is really an accessory use to a residential use. So we broke that up essentially to what is your standard daycare, which, both uses, whether at home or in a separate building, they're both allowed by right, but just wanting to make sure to kind of separate it. And that was something really driven from town council, and something that looking at neighboring communities as really just trying to break down what is primary, what is accessory.
And honestly, it really aligns more with the Department of Early Education and Care and how a family child care is utilized. And as a primary person has to live in that residency, so it makes sense. And another one that kind of stuck out to me was like the RV and the lengths, and that language changed. So I think it's a little bit hard. There were so many changes, and it's so thorough.
Yeah.
I think communicating at town meeting how these changes align with what we used to have, and what format is the easiest to kind of see what are the changes, what's new, and what was taken out. Which I'm sure could be, a 50-page packet.
Yeah.
So it would be, a little, but some of them I think communication to the town meeting of how this is a good thing and how it's not going to negatively impact things that the zoning that is current.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, as a steering committee, we discussed that early on when we decided to look at Section 5, is that more so than even any other section, this requires probably some sort of a public forum. Maybe two even, just to have an opportunity to present it prior to town meeting. Obviously going through the regulatory process of the planning board and FinCom, but just we've discussed in meetings just trying to obviously have another option for town meeting members and the general public to just listen and hear about what those changes are. And then obviously for packet material, you're absolutely right. I could give you 50 pages, but I'm trying to find a solution that is readable and digestible for people is a priority.
All right. Well, definitely keep us posted. Keep us posted as a board on those, public forums, whatever, and we can help spread the word as much as possible. And the only other recommendation I think we'd have is maybe looping in the town moderator as well.
Yeah.
In those, because then, at their discretion, they can notify RTMs directly of that sort of a thing too. So,
Good idea.
as Ali was saying, just to reiterate how important it is to get the word out. So I appreciate the idea of a public forum, and as much as we can tell people it's happening, then, as you well know,
Yeah.
we can get more people there. So.
It's a tough section to go through because it is a lot of little changes. But this is part of the process of doing a zoning bylaw
Sure.
update is having to tackle your use regulations
Sure.
eventually. So
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of sponsoring the article then, at town meeting, have you talked with the planning board at all? I know in the past, they've looked to the select board to sponsor the article. Have you talked with them?
I have not spoken to them directly. No.
All right. And as far as timing, Jim, I would include you in this question as well. I mean, do we need to act on this tonight in terms of sponsoring it, or is it something where we can give the planning board the opportunity to do it here?
So one of my requests under item 3 of new business, if you don't mind if we jump down to there, just
Sure.
kind of, they go together.
Yep.
Is just to extend, the warrant is supposed to close today.
Right.
I'd like to request the board extend that until your next meeting on 1/20.
Right.
So if we do this now, we can at least Patrick can send the planning board a quick memo. We're interested if you'd like to sponsor it. If not, we can go the path that we've done the last few town meetings and the
Sure.
select board. So at least we cover those bases.
No, that sounds good. And specifically because there's 2 planning board members on the steering committee, so, maybe they can drum up some interest on the planning board as well.
Of course.
Any other comment from the select board on that?
Should we vote favorable action on the article itself and leave the sponsorship aside, or should we wait till we can vote both at the same time?
I think we can wait 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Any other further questions or anything from the board on this for Patrick? Okay, thank you, Patrick, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Keep us updated on how it's going.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Being that the time is 7:15, anybody here for open forum? Being that there isn't, we'll move on to new business. New business, vote to award bid contract 2026-07 sewer system improvements to National Water Main Cleaning Company. Jim?
Sorry, I should turn my page. I was thinking. So, recommend favorable action in the amount of $798,041.20. Wow, that is very exact. To National Water Main Cleaning for bid contract number 2006-07. Recommend favorable action.
Great. Any other questions or clarifications from the board? Glenn?
Move to award 2026-07 sewer system improvements to National Water Main Cleaning Company.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 500, the motion passes. Next item under new business is a vote request of Director Mattson of the DPW to declare various vehicles as surplus. Any other comments or questions there from the board? Glenn?
No, move to approve the request of the DPW Director to declare the vehicles outlined in the memo dated December 23rd, 2025 as surplus.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 500. So we'll move on to new business item 3, which is a discussion on the Springtown meeting warrant. And Jim, you just kind of prefaced that with a discussion of extending the closing of the warrant.
Sure. So I'd recommend we extend it until 1/20. Initially, I was going to recommend this, not because of what Patrick just talked about, but because of the MWRA vote, but the Sewer and Water Commissioners did vote favorable action last night, 3-0, to have that included on the warrant. But I think give me 2 more weeks with the warrant being open. That's what I'd prefer, because there's the 2 articles, a few articles Patrick just went over, and then there's 1 article with Union Street, that clock tower development that's still kind of standing out there. They may need the town to accept some land, so I gotta work with council on that one to figure out if that needs to go anywhere.
Okay. No, I mean, I think that makes sense, and I don't think we need to be in any rush necessarily to close the warrant. Any further comment from the board?
Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment on the Sewer and Water Commission's addition to the Springtown meeting warrant. That's the one that stands out to me as being the most significant, that needs all of our attention. I am likely going to be, advocating against it, so I won't be advocating anything. I'll be against that article. It's very expensive. It's a $10 million cost just to connect to the town of Norwood, and then it's the cost of the water, if we end up doing this, is 2.5 times the cost to produce our own water in Walpole. So everything about it is just like dollar signs and just like through the roof. I really want to get into the nitty-gritty about the $10 million, and talk about how we're going to pay for that if we go through with this. Again, I'm against it, but if it ends up being supported by town meeting. And then I want to talk about the Norwood pass-through charges and the wheeling charge and the 20% charge and all these like unknowns and knowns and just, I want people to be aware that their water bills will go up a lot overnight if this thing passes. So I want to talk about that a lot more.
Sounds good. So then what was the other item that was before the water and sewer? Oh, the rates.
The rate, so
Did they make some headway on that?
they decided to have the rate hearing on January 26th, 27th.
Yeah, so they did vote both of the respective budgets last night.
Yeah,
Sewer and water budgets both.
yeah.
The rate hearing is scheduled for the 27th.
Thank you, Rick. All right, Glenn, if you'd be willing to make a motion to extend the closing?
I am. I move to extend the closing of the spring 2026 town meeting warrant until January 20th, 2026.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. All right. Anything else under town meeting, Jim, that we need to cover? You see?
Just looking at my updates here.
We have the MWRA they voted on, and then the budget as
just
well.
those.
That's good news.
Yeah, that's it.
Good. Okay, great. All right, consent agenda, Glenn, please.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent items as listed on the January 6th agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of December 2nd, 2025 as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 5-0. Motion passes. All right, thank you. And the town administrator's update?
Sure, just a few items, just to follow up on that sewer and water discussion. I think that meeting we had back in the middle of December with all three boards really went well. Obviously, it was productive. This is the earliest they've ever voted on their budget, the sewer and water commissioners. So I thank you all for, being part of that. I know it was a big meeting with everyone. Bond rating, we received notice yesterday that S&P affirmed the town's AAA bond rating, which is really good news. We're going out to bid for borrowing on January 13th, and we're looking to have the board award the bonds on January 20th. FY27 budget, I'm putting the finishing touches on the FY27 budget draft. I'll be prepared to meet probably with individual board members likely next week. I want Jody to kind of proofread some of the changes I had made, make sure both of us are comfortable with it. I'm going to afford the department heads the same opportunity to sit down, talk through some of the changes I made over the requests versus recommendations before I finalize it. And I'm probably going to start the budget message maybe this week, likely more next week, just drafting it and putting things together. But I was really proud of the bond rating, again, to get that affirmed. And one of the things I'm going to try to do, and it might be a little tough, but I can at least get estimates to include in there just to kind of highlight some of the savings that we've had over the last 2 or 3 years as a result of getting that bond upgrade. So good news there. And I think that is it for me.
Great, yeah, and I would just echo, Jim, our thanks as a board for your hard work in getting, assisting the Sewer and Water Commission with getting their budgets together and getting that rate hearing in January. Moving all that ahead into January is just good business, right? I think it's sound, and I'm glad that the commissioners have gotten on board with that. I think it'll be more effective for the town. So thank you for all the work that went into that.
It was a team effort. Rick, Jody, Lisa, Steve, Scott, everyone. Pat?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Just, I know we always say this about the bond rating, but Jim, I just want to, again, say thank you to you and the finance team for just an outstanding job of managing the town and bringing us to that AAA bond rating. It is saving us a ton of money. It's worth noting that when we go out to issue a bond, we have to get the rating every time, which means you and your finance team have to actually walk the bond rating agency through, why, where we are, how we do things and all that. So it's an implicit affirmative to the town, to just how well the town is being run. And I think you and your team do an outstanding job of explaining that to the bond rating agencies, and that's what shows up when they give us these AAA ratings. So well done.
Thank you.
Agreed, well said, Jim. Anybody else? All right, I would hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 500, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.